You're already ready. Welcome. On behalf of the People's Budget LA, welcome to the Black Lives Matter Los Angeles Center for Black Power. Um, Believe it or not, this is the third year that the People's Budget will be presented to the Mayor of Los Angeles, and we have a great program for you. I'm Dominique DePrima. I'm with KBLA Talk 1580 Radio, and I've been standing with Black Lives Matter for many years. Yeah, I will continue to do so, Marty Gay, even if it's illegal. Um, we want to bring up now Pastor to do an opening prayer. Pastor James, are you good? Here it is. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Well, I'm here to do opening prayer. It is Good Friday. So I'm going to take a little liberty. I'm not going to make the mayor feel like Donald Trump when he was in church. Not yet. Hopefully. Well, but I do want to say something that I think is very important, and I want to say it to you, Mayor Bass. There is a passage of scripture in Matthew that talks about if you seek to save your life, you will lose it. If you are willing to give up your life on his behalf, you will save your life. And I want to say that because I know that you are in a battle. I want you to understand that it is time for you to seek to lose your life so that you can save your life. Metaphorically speaking, for all of the white supremacists, metaphorically speaking, what I mean is that it is time for you to be willing to lose in order to win. It's time for you to speak the words of community. And so I'm going to pray that God empowers you to be able to do so. As I told you before, I have a lot of respect and admiration for women who hold positions of power. And so I respect them because they speak truth and they are courageous. And so my prayer for you is that you would lose all the democratic stuff and fight for the people. Because when they told us that defunding the police was a snappy slogan, it has now become the platform for this crazy guy in office. He's defunding everything. And so there was an opportunity for that to be used on behalf of progressive people, but it was not used. So let us pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity just to sit in this building of people who collectively want to hear their voice heard. Father, we pray that you would deal with our mayor, that you would deal with her heart, that you would give her the courage to do right by all of the people. We find that you are the only one that's able to do that. Lord, we pray for every elected official, every Black elected official who is feeling a similar challenge. We pray that they would rise up in the spirit of our ancestors and be who we know they can be. And so, Lord, we pray your protection upon this city, your protection on the most vulnerable. And for this, we give your name praise, glory, and honor in Christ's name. Amen and Ashe.
Thank you, Pastor. Next up, we are going to have a poem. We want to bring Ayana Greenwich up to the podium. Please put your hands together. Or you can snap your fingers if you feel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ayana Greenwich. I have been performing poetry since the age of 4. I have been using my voice to help others. I've been in positions where I see that it's difficult for other people to speak up and speak out about certain things. So I use my platform and I use my voice to give other people that voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This piece is called Ode to Black Names. As everyone knows, everybody has a name that resonates to everybody, so this is just something to give to you all. This is for Daryl Lene, Latasha, Jamarion, anyone who was told their name is ghetto. I love our names. And not that I didn't hear what you said, so I'm going to give you that condescending, what was your mama thinking look, and say, I love your name. Now, I mean that real, honest love. See, our name defies an ocean that tried to wash us away. It proves you can take someone out of their home, but you can't take the home outside of them. So we gonna take pride in the fact that we never found our names on novelty racks on vacation trips. Because our name can't be fit into a box, or a license plate, or a Coca-Cola bottle. Nah, we too good for that anyway. See, I marvel at the way our name rolls off the tongue like smooth jazz from smoother lips. The way we throw in apostrophes and hyphens all over the place. Places you ain't even think they could exist. Yeah. Add a nay, add a sha, add a quan, add a nay, sha, and a quan. See, we do it like no one else can. You know why? We ain't gotta worry about what our name looks like on a job application, because if they don't want to hire us, then they don't deserve our magic. Besides, we owners, not workers. We meant to run the world, not shuffling it. And wolves don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. No, we wear wolves like a deity. We abolish the names they say we should have. We choose ones we are destined with. Layana, Donisha, Rashane, you are the Alakabelini, Nubian, Black African, melanated woman of divinity. And if we should be expected to learn how to say Schwarzenegger, Galifianakis, and Gyllenhaal, then we gonna make y'all take longer than the second it took to pass judgment to learn how to say Tasha Mari, Shervante, and Chantella, because our names carry the legacy of people whose worth was not concerned by some uncultured folks' ignorance. Nah. See, when oppression tried to come for us and erase our existence, we formed a new one. See, these names is birthed out of the same things that created dynasties. These names are pharaoh queens twisting the arms of gender roles into submission. Then the sun shining on a rich queen carrying gold of an Ethiopian hill. This is the moon glistening on a Dogon priestess dancing under CG gold. Our names is nothing to be ashamed of. Y'all not saying your names is something y'all should be ashamed of. Someone asks us our names, we gonna tell them no easy to pronounce version. We don't make them say the whole thing. Nah, I ain't got no nickname. Nah, you can't shorten it to no letter. You gonna glorify this greatness. Honor the sound of creativity. And we gonna keep loving our names just like we always love our name. Thank you.
All right, Ayana. All right, that's good stuff. We're going to have a quick presentation right now from the manager of the Hip Hop Gumbo, Adrian Miller. Mr. Miller, please come to the stage. Is it a stage? Yeah. Please come to the podium of the BLM-LA Center for Black Power. Thank you.
Peace and blessings, everybody. All right. We are gathered here for a great instance, and I am so glad to be back home in Alert Park. I'm not going to turn this into too much of a presentation, but I just wanted to say thank you for everybody in the community that has paid their personal tithes and had a journey around that has brought me back full circle. So give yourselves a round of applause for just being here to be with us tonight. I wanted to present to BLM Grassroots for a couple of reasons. There was a fascinating program put on last year that Melina invited me to bring a few acts through. And I said, may I have Gumbo perform? And she said, absolutely. This young man, Ro, who's standing next to me, is a prime example of our community at work with art. Not only is he a talented musician and artist, he's a fascinating human being, and he puts himself in the back while he goes forward in making it work. Right now, I believe he's adopted. I don't want to put him too hard on the spot. 3 children. Yeah. And so that is ultimately him and his lovely significant other in the back. So this is not just about hip hop. This is about community. People say, well, what's hip hop? A lot of times I get asked that question. And I just say, you have to be in action. And it is a verb. It is a process. So with that, my company Zion would like to present BLM Grassroots. And I couldn't have gotten a better ask when you text me your spam text message today. And I felt really honored to be a part of saying thank you for allowing our artist merchandise initiative be a part of the BLM Grassroots movement. And we didn't do a lot, but we did something when we were able to raise money by selling the anniversary t-shirts, which we have a few for you as well. So if I could present this to you, Melina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the Artist Merch Initiative is about artists taking forward and creating opportunities through activism. And I couldn't find a better place for a group like Gumbo and Black Lives Matter Grassroots to actually be a part of. So thank you all for this.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Ro. And Ro is also an educator. So he's an artist and an educator. And I really, really appreciate when we talk about what is movement, it's bringing whatever you have, your artistry, your love for the people, whatever you have, bring it to the movement, bring it to liberation. And so we're grateful. It was about a year ago when we experienced something that was phenomenal with Chuck D literally handing the baton over to Gumbo and say, now you take it. Now you take it. And grateful that we're taking it and running with it. And we know that Black Lives Matter Grassroots is continuing to move forward for Black liberation. Every dollar counts. You'll see QR codes around here. We're trying to make sure we can maintain this building and maintain this movement. So thank you for helping us to do that.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, picture time. Gotta do that. All right, the next presenter, you know her well. She's a professor at Cal State LA. She used to be the chair of the Black Studies Hub there, and she's tomorrow. She is also the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which is the real Black Lives Matter, in case you're confused. Don't get it twisted. Black Lives Matter Grassroots is Black Lives Matter. In any case, she's the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots, and she is lead organizer for BLM Los Angeles, Dr. Melina Abdullah.
All right, Melina. All right, Melina. Most of this is not a drill.
Hey, everybody. So I have some things that I want to say that I have on my phone, but I don't know whether I'll look at it or not because I'm not good at remembering to look at my phone. So prayerfully, the correct words will come out my mouth. I want to first welcome you to the Center for Black Power. Welcome to the Center for Black Power. This is the people's house right here. This is the people's house. So y'all, how many of you have heard, what did Black Lives Matter do with that money? How many of y'all heard that question somewhere before? I don't know what they did with their money, But I can tell you what Black Lives Matter Los Angeles did with our money, which is we bought this building. We bought this building that at the time we bought it still had a restrictive covenant on it, saying black people cannot own this property. But guess who owns this property now? Not just black people. The Black Liberation Movement owns this building. You know who used to own this building? Genociders used to own this building. Israeli arms dealers owned this building. And we have liberated it from them, just like we're going to liberate Palestine. So I pray that the words out my mouth and my energy are the correct ones. I was sharing with Sister Dominique that I don't quite know how to introduce things this year. That we are in a moment of unmasked fascism. We are in a moment of unmasked racism. And we know that the devil is in the White House. The devil is in the White House. So the question becomes, how do we fight the devil? How do we fight evil? And what we're told is that the way that you fight evil, the way that you fight fascism, is through liberalism. The way that you fight the Republican Party is with the Democratic Party. But those of us who are students of Black history, those of us who are committed to Black liberation, know that the way that you fight fascism is through radical resistance. And we can't be afraid to say that we don't want to reform things, we want to abolish things. We are abolitionists in the way that Mama Harriet instructs us to be abolitionists. We are here not to say we're going to tinker around edges of fundamentally unjust systems. We are going to tear the whole thing down. Yeah. And so when we say defund the police, and I still say defund the police, which is not a snappy slogan, it is a policy demand, right? And I know, and let me say this. I want to say that love means also telling the truth to our people. And so not everybody in this room knows this, but we know this, that we go back to 1996, that we've been friends for a long time. We know each other's children. We've sat on each other's couches. We've laughed together and cried together. And I love Karen Bass. I love Karen Bass as Karen. And I can disagree with her as Mayor Bass. And so I want to be very clear that that's the energy that we're coming with. Love means telling the truth to our people. And so what we're here to do tonight is to tell the truth. Okay? So we want to be clear that there's some slides I think we have to have. Yeah. Okay. I don't need them if we don't have them. Okay. We want to walk through a little bit of history of what the People's Budget is. How many of you completed the People's Budget LA survey? How many of you have not completed the survey? Okay. If you haven't completed the survey, we will not be offended if you multitask, right? You can pull it up on your phone. It's peoplesbudgetla.com/survey. peoplesbudgetla.com/survey. And the history of the People's Budget is this. How many of you remember March 2020 when we all thought the world was going to end? We all thought this was the end of the world. Well, what happened during that moment when COVID hit and we had a lockdown is we began to look around and notice that you know who was still outside? The police. Why are the police in the park when ain't nobody else in the park? Right? Why do we need police on every street corner when ain't nobody else inside their homes? Why are we wasting money on police when my children are petrified and they need mental health resources? Right. Why are we spending money on police when we need to figure out how to make sure everybody who is living on Skid Row is housed? Why are we spending money on police when we need to make sure that everyone eats? And so we launched something called the People's Budget that's based on the premise fund services, not police. Fund services, not police. And we were able to get pretty much, and I don't know if I'm even overqualifying it, every Black organization in this county to join us in launching the People's Budget. Now, we know what happened 2 months later, that in the midst of the pandemic, our people were killed. Ahmaud Arbery is killed. We know that Breonna Taylor is killed. We know that George Floyd is killed. And so we had a huge desire by the city and by the world to figure out how to make our voices heard. And one of the things that we thought it was just a policy demand, but one of the things that became the clarion call was to defund the police. Right? We all said defund the police. And defund the police.
Defund the police.
Defund the police.
Defund the police.
We said that, and that became our policy demand, and we measured that through People's Budget. And we were able to present the People's Budget to City Council. But if you remember, the mayor at the time was Eric Garcetti. We used to have a chant for him too, right? Chant down Babylon, Black people are the bomb, we ready. Garcetti.
At 7 a.m. in the morning.
And so, Mayor Garcetti, former Mayor Garcetti, who never became the ambassador he thought he was going to be, never became the Secretary of Transportation that he thought he was going to be, because we had a Black Garcetti effort then. We always say Black Lives Matter. We don't always win all of what we want, but I don't think any politician wants a buy campaign against them. Just ask Jackie Lacey, ask Eric Garcetti, ask Nathan Hoffman could be next, right? KDL. Thank you for reminding me. Ask KDL. Ask Kevin De Leon, right? So we launched this People's Budget. Mayor Garcetti would not listen to us, but City Council did. We had a City Council president who declared in that moment that he will be a city councilman. This is Herb Wesson. He doesn't know how long he'll be a politician or how long he'll be a city councilman, but he knows that he will always be a Black father and grandfather. And so as Garcetti turned his back and said, y'all be quiet, Herb Wesson invited us into City Council and had us present People's Budget. And so we presented People's Budget every year to City Council in May. And then when Karen Bass was elected, where are we at now? 2 years ago? Almost 3 years. This is the third presentation. She became the mayor who said, present your People's Budget work to me. And so we were able to present the People's Budget to the mayor for the first time in 2020. We presented it to her again in 2024, and she actually offered some guidance. Can you give it to me earlier so that I can think about it and incorporate it into my budget proposal? So we presented it earlier in 2024. And now we're presenting it again ahead of her budget proposal in 2025. Now here's the truth. We haven't seen our proposal go in. Here's the truth, that we now have an LAPD that has the highest budget that it's ever had on. Here's the truth, that while people are struggling and scrapping and saving and trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to pay for a carton of eggs, LAPD got a raise. Here's the truth, that LAPD and police around this country in 2024 killed more people than ever since it's been measured. And so the truth is, we love that you come, and you've come every year to get the People's Budget presentation. but we want you to incorporate it into your budget proposal. We don't want you to just come here and listen. We want you to take action. And we got to remind everyone that the people's budget, Black Lives Matter, absolutely is an abolitionist organization. We believe in defunding the police, and we started saying it because it was kind of scary to folks when we said abolish, right? But this is not just our proposal. Thousands of Angelinos complete the People's Budget Survey every single year. These are working class people. These are young people. This is old people. This is indigenous people. This is Black people. This is people from every single city council district. And what we know, and David and Tabitha and Dr. David Turner and Dr. Tabitha Jones-Jolivet will present the data from this year, but you don't even have to wait for it because Angelino said it again. We want you to fund housing. We want you to fund mental health. We want you to fund youth programs, and we don't want you to jack up our trash prices. I don't know if everybody knows about this. We know that if we hadn't given LAPD a raise, if we weren't paying out these settlement agreements, we wouldn't have $1 billion budget surplus, shortfall, which is a surplus, budget shortfall to contend with. And so we're saying we hope that you listen, but more than that, we want you to go home. You met several of my students when you came in. I'm going to tell you to do or ask you to do what I never asked them to do, right? Which is cram, right? Because we know that you present your budget proposal on Monday. Look, pull some all-nighters. You look really, really healthy.
You ready?
Because we need you to take action. We are here to take action. We don't have a big budget. Dr. David Turner and Dr. Tabitha Jones-Jolivet, this is their contribution to movement and to the people. It's good work. And we want you to carry forward this good work so that Angelinos and Black Los Angeles in particular can benefit. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. It's a great night. Thank you all for being here. This is not, going to be what it is without all of you participating. It's important. So next up, the scholars are going to jump into action and present the data, present the findings, what we, the people, said we want to happen with our money. That's what the people's budget is meant to be about. And so let's go ahead with that. She's an activist and organizer with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. She's also a professor at Azusa Pacific, Dr. Tabitha Jones-Jolivet. And of course, these are the abbreviated bios because we'd be here all night with these folks' accomplishments. And we also have from UCLA, also a Black Lives Matter activist, Dr. David Turner. Please welcome these two PhDs to share this data. Who gets the mic?
I'll get the mic. I'm just going to try to go ahead and take that bullet forward. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be in community tonight. I ain't gonna lie, Mayor Bass, I wouldn't ordinarily be here on Good Friday. Because, my grandmama, who is an ancestor now, taught me that on Good Friday you go to Mass. I brought my rosary beads with me, though, because I'm going to treat this as Mass today. It's not Mass for everybody, I know, because we show up in many ways, don't we? And that means that it is so good to me to be here because there is, in fact, abundance. There is abundance, which means we show up in abundance because we show up in our expansiveness. But I ain't gonna lie, I'm showing up as my grandmama's grandbaby with these rosary beads on Good Friday. And good on Good Friday is kind of a euphemism, I gotta tell you. Because the rosary beads which seem kind of ornamental. On them, as James Cone would tell us, is a lynching tree. On these beads is a lynching tree. And I know for every black person in this room, I don't have to tell you what the lynching tree means, right?
Right.
State terror and the terror of white supremacy. And that terror, yes, did not disappear with the tree, the lynching tree, no. That terror continues here, there, and everywhere. And that is one of the stories, in fact, that my grandmama, who would have turned 100 years old yesterday, she told me that story when I was 2 years old on her lap, the story of this lynching tree. And she gave me my first set of rosary beads. I remember her giving me my rosary beads, and that made me feel like I was powerful. I want you to think, Mayor Bass, about when you felt powerful for the first time. Who helped you to know that? Not what, but who. Who helped you to understand what it meant to be, for example, a little black girl who was powerful? For me, it was my grandmother who said, with these beads in your hands, Tabitha, where's Ayana? Tabitha, which was the name I have to say of a little white witch, bewitched. And in my black neighborhood, that didn't work out so great for very long until I reclaimed it. And I've met a bunch of black Tabithas, let me tell you, including in South Africa. And they say my name means it's the one who was born to go and get back what you came for, to go take it back. Tabitha. Mayor Batts, when did you first know you were powerful? For me, it was when my grandmama said, you can pray to God with these beads in your hand. And I did not know how important that would be until I began to understand the world that we live in. A world that tells us the lies of scarcity when there is all of this abundance. So I want to use that as an introduction just very briefly to tell you a little bit about, I think we know about scarcity, right? Yeah. I don't got to tell y'all about scarcity. We know about that. I want to see if we can remember abundance. But scarcity is what's killing us. Scarcity is the thing that's killing us when there is indeed abundance, Mayor Bass. And I want to see if, and this is where I learned this story from my grandmother, we can move with the faith of a mustard seed, because I learned on my grandmama's lap that the faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. It can move mountains. What you think about that, Mayor Bass? In my church, we say amen. Amen. So let me just say a little bit about the imagination of scarcity. Now, we have to admit on one level you inherited this. I understand. Let's start here for a second. This is a pie. That's what they say. It's a euphemism, right? That ain't no pie. No pie, though. I don't want to eat pie like that. This is a pie. It is an image of a budget. And this is a proposal of a budget for the city. And everybody in this room is here because they have a stake in the city budget in Los Angeles. Yes, raise your hand. You putting some money in the city? That means you got a stake in where your money goes. This is essentially the unrestricted revenue, for example, for the city of LA, proposed for this current fiscal year. And unrestricted means what? You can do whatever you want with it. Whatever you want. Now, I'm not the mayor, so I could be wrong. But as I understand it, whatever you want. I want you to just take a look. You don't even have to look at numbers, but just get a sense. Where's the money going?
Hey.
It's going to policing, which leaves room for libraries, Well, at the federal level, Elon Musk is dodging those. That's what he's trying to do, right? You could argue that's happening for us right here in LA if we're not careful. And this is, of course, just the unrestricted revenue. This is, again, a sort of proposed budget for the city. You could say, well, what about something like youth development, if you can do anything with it? Or what about housing? Could it be there? It's not on the list. But recs and parks are, the number here is 4.5%. So can we keep going? This was the estimated budget that would begin this year. So starting out, I'm sorry, this is the budget for beginning this year, estimations of, well, when we do something wrong as a city, where's the money coming from? And what do you see as a pattern just from where you sit? Policing. So for causing harm in the city that is costing you in more ways than one. The top offender is policing. Now, let me add to this what I think you already know, but I want to emphasize it. We are $1 billion. That's the projection over budget already. That's going to be for this year. So I just want to keep adding, and this is again in the spirit of truth telling, which is an act of love. It's not about shame. It's about telling the truth so that we can love and do better by each other. Can we keep going? This is an example of, and this all comes from the controller's office. So you're paying for this as members of the city. This is departmental operational budget increases and decreases over the course of the year. And so you can go online to the controller's office to see these numbers for yourselves. Projections of where monies have increased over the year and where they have decreased. And what you see just at a level of pattern? Thank you. This number at the very top, policing. Always outsized. Always outsized. So can we keep going, David? Let's go way back. Sorry. So I just wanted to sort of begin there to simply say, we know how we love by where we make investment. We know how we love by where we make investment. And that is an imaginary that emerges from a story about what we believe about how to love. And in the words of Bell Hooks, love and abuse, they cannot coexist. Love and abuse can't coexist. And so in the people's budget work that we do as a community, David and I are one of the many. We just get to be up here today, but we are one of the many. What we do is we go to the people who are closest to the harm. Black people, indigenous people, poor people, working people, disabled people. And let me add this in the words of Octavia Butler, who wrote these brilliant novels years ago, the parable novels, right? She wrote these novels and they began with, there was this thing called the Pax, otherwise known as the apocalypse. And in the apocalypse, it was as if people were not paying attention. They just let political and climate catastrophe happen and they just kept ignoring it until it came to their doorstep. And that is essentially what we recognize because we study patterns in the way that Octavia Butler did. And the people who live under the conditions that are nightmarish do, right? Which is why it's so important to say, what do you believe you deserve in a world that doesn't listen and imagine for you what it is that you deserve? You know better. And that is what this people budget is about. It's going to the people like us to say, we know better what we deserve. Ayana knows better with that poem, what we deserve. Because this scarcity is not it, it's lovelessness. That's what Bell Hooks says. And that's how I just want to begin, David, to get us into what's really the kind of the bones of the data. But I think it's important to begin with scarcity, which is the floor. That's the floor. We can go above where there is no roof, which is abundance. Abundance is actually real. And we can do that when we refuse to accept the conditions of violence and abuse, which are not love. And it's with your money that we can do that when we demand it.
All right.
Everybody clap it up one more time.
There it is. All right. Tabitha. That's right. That's Tabitha. Ali.
That was a word. And I think especially this piece about abundance. We live in the heart of empire, right? I don't want to mix my words. Right? We live in the heart of empire. But some of us have been living under occupation and fascism forever. What's happening across the country isn't necessarily a new phenomenon.
Right.
Y'all are just feeling what Black folks, Native folks, immigrant folks, queer and trans folks have felt since we've been here.
Right.
So I want to name that, and I want that to be clear. So, the people's budget. What is it? And also, what did we fund? So, in our 5 years of doing this survey, we have now engaged over 32,000 Angelinos. 32,000 people who have asked us and told us what it is they desire for their city. 32,000 people who continue, right, to uplift the things that they need. So I wanted to make sure to raise that. And in addition to that, over 60,000 people helped to shape this through engagement in town halls, in lives, in all kind of other spaces in order to make sure that they can uplift and say what it is they want to invest in. We collect all kind of data, y'all. I promise you, it's not just these same little folk questions. We ask people about whether or not they're experiencing wage cuts. We've asked people whether or not they've experienced, right, push out from their schools and their homes, right? Like we've asked people if they've been evicted, if they've been homeless. We ask people all these things because, again, we need to know what it is that the people who are closest to the problems are experiencing. We need to know that information. So this is just a little bit of just some of the demographic info, right, that we actually collect when we do this survey. And again, if I had the actual time to do this presentation would get smooth like hour, right? You know, my students are like, dang, like I'm so proud of you. Like you can actually talk for like an hour. And I'm like, I'm a professor, it's my job. But right, I do want to share some highlights. 1 out of every 3 of our survey respondents are survivors of crime. You would have to have been living without any social media or any television to have missed all of the propaganda over the last 2 years about the rise of crime. Right? How all the smash and grabs are destroying our industries. How all of these things are tearing up our communities, right? That has been the narrative and the rhetoric, and that has been the rhetoric that got racist legislation like Prop 36 passed. Right? But 1 out of every 3 people who responded to our survey actually experienced that. And I promise you, they're not asking for more cops. Just wanted to name them real quick. 1 out of 8 people who took our survey have been directly impacted by the carceral system, meaning they were formerly incarcerated. And 1 out of 3 people who took our survey has a family member, right, who has been impacted by the carceral system. Please, real quick, just as a quick experiment, raise your hand if you or someone in your family has been incarcerated. Point exact. 1 out of 8 folks have been physically harmed by law enforcement. 1 out of 4 folks know somebody who's been physically harmed by law enforcement. And this is the kicker: 91% of our residents are registered voters in LA County. Right? So that's, again, some quick highlights. Some more quick highlights. 87% of respondents in our survey say that police associations do not belong in city decisions. I think one of the things that Dr. Abdullah had shared earlier, right, was this notion of truth telling. And for those of you, especially for my working folks who are in organized labor, what we have seen is that police have been the enemy of labor.
That's right.
Police have been the enemy of working class people. Police have been the enemy of Black folks, the enemy of Native folks, the enemy of immigrant folks. They have been the open enemy of these folks. And again, this isn't just historically. We all saw on the news about a month ago how the recruiting department for LAPD was sending racist texts to each other. That was last month. Now, again, I've got a project at UCLA called the $1 Million Hoods Project, where we map the physical and human costs of incarceration. And at that project, we were able to do a project called Archiving the Age of Mass Incarceration, where we got nearly 500,000 pages of documents detailing all of LAPD's horrors. And I can tell you right now, whether it's 2024, 1970, 1985, regardless of the year, they've been doing the same stuff. So at some point, we got to do something different. At some point. Just thought I'd name that. Some more quick reflections. 29% of people who took our survey experienced some kind of loss in the LA wildfires. And when we say some kind of loss, this includes people who lost community centers, people who may have lost property. Some people lost pets, people who lost their homes, people who lost their loved ones. 29% of people were impacted by the fires. 85.9% of people either agree or strongly agree that the LA Fire Department should be prioritized over the LAPD. Now, if I could just run this back real quick, that don't look like prioritization. But just saying, that's what 85.9% of people said. And again, a third of these folks are people who have actually survived crime. Just saying, 79% of people oppose any new increases in the LAPD and LAPPL influence, and 89% of folks either agree or strongly agree that LA should prioritize climate preparedness as disasters become more common. We live in a world where people have actively worked to harm the environment. And as we try to rectify that, we need to make sure that we are prepared for the things to come. Now, y'all know, if you, any kind of brother in here, you've been to a barbershop. And when you in a barbershop, you're in a barbershop with all kind of people. I happen to be in a barbershop with somebody who was a former firefighter. And we was talking about the fires. And he said we could have had 5,000 more firefighters out there But the climate change and the fact that there were hurricane force winds with a fire, we might have saved 2 or 3 extra blocks. I say that to say, right, that these kind of disasters, because people have disregarded the earth so much, are going to continue to be more common. So we got to have some kind of reserves to be ready to build things back. We got to make sure that we're building trees in places where they're taking trees out, right? We got to make sure, right, that we're investing in our community. So again, just wanted to note that. Now, what most folks come to see, these are the areas of investment where people want to actually put money. Now, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna get to the specifics. This is just the aggregated. You know what I'm saying? And aggregated, that's just all of it put together, right? So again, we have 4 primary areas. That's universal aid and human services, reimagining community safety, our built environment, and then finally law enforcement and policing. And as you can see, people really want to invest in some of this stuff up here. Whether that is housing security, whether that is public health and health care, whether that is environmental or climate change, whether it's mental health and wellness, or parks and recreations, and even our fire department, people want to make investments in that, and they're not particularly keen on policing, right? And again, this is post Prop 36. This is post the 2024 election and the alleged conservative swing, right? That we're all kind of in right now. People still aren't interested in investing in policing. This is where they want to take the money from. I think we can see, right? But to be clear, weren't too many people keen on taking money from the things that we know sustain life. Right. But they were keen on taking money from things that were to control and occupy our communities. And it's really funny, y'all. Every year, people really hate parking enforcement. Every year, I'm like, wow, it doesn't matter what society does. They're just like, parking enforcement gotta go. But I do want to make a quick point that oftentimes, anytime we hear that any public entity is in a fiscal crisis, these are the things that get cut first.
Right.
Anytime we hear that there's a budget crisis, there's budget cuts, oh, we know what that means. Everything dealing with black and brown people about to go. Right? And then policing somehow finds a way to go up. So these are the things that have to change. So let's dive into it just real quick and take a look at some of these areas. So again, universal needs. There were 6 core areas in universal needs, right? Those 6 core areas are housing security, food security, economic assistance, public health and health care, child and youth development, and environmental justice and climate change. These are the 6 core areas for universal needs. And we see 3 out of every 4 survey takers say this is maximum or moderate investment in every single area. In every single area. And then one area that is a little short, right, was economic assistance at 66. At 66%. Every other area is at least 75%, if not more. Most are 8. Next is reimagine community safety. Now, what do we mean by reimagine community safety? Right? When we say things that like we're abolitionists, people think that, oh, well, y'all just want people to run wild in the streets. No, that's never been our sentiment when we say abolition. When we say abolition, right, we want to be able to address the root causes of what people have called organized violence and organized abandonment, right? Organized abandonment is when they take all the resources out of a community that help to sustain life, and they replace those resources with policing and prison, which has happened in our communities consistently. Shout out to Black feminist and abolition scholar Ruth Wilson Gilmore for that one, right? So when we're talking about reimagining community safety, we're talking about reinvesting some of those resources that we know that can help to sustain community safety in a way that doesn't necessitate violence, that doesn't necessitate somebody beating you over the head, that doesn't necessitate somebody pulling a gun out on you. So this looks like investment in community care workers and people who do restorative justice, people who are doing community investment in neighborhood empowerment, right? So making sure that your neighborhood actually has things that people want to go to, right? That your communities have things that people want to be invested in. And finally, investments in mental health and wellness. Now, I'll say this. Earlier today, I found out that one of the young men that I previously worked with was killed by police through a mental health crisis. His name is Deshaun Lee. From the Michigan area, he was out driving, he had gone through a mental health crisis, unarmed, and what happens? He gets into a car wreck, and the police shoot him after the wreck. But they're blaming him and saying that the police were justified for killing him when we know that this is something that just typically doesn't happen to white people. Right? I want to make sure to invoke his name in particular when I talk about mental health and wellness, because you are 16 times more likely to die at the hands of police if you're going through a mental health crisis. 16 times more likely to die if you are going through a mental health crisis at the hands of police. 1 out of every 4 people who are killed in this country by somebody that they don't know is killed by a cop. So when we talk about wanting to invest or reimagine community safety, this is what we need. Because if 1 out of every 4 people who is killed by somebody they don't know, and that person happens to be a police officer, I don't know if this particular group of people are going to continue to keep my folks safe. Just saying. Next, we have the built environment. So this means parks and recreation. It means public transportation, libraries, public works, so fixing our roads, right? I know some of y'all have hit some of them LA potholes before, and you hit it and it sounds expensive, right? Like being able to address some of that. And then finally, investing in our fire department. Now, I'll say one thing. I've been doing the survey since 2020. This is the highest investment in the fire department has ever been. The highest it's ever been. Well, of course, there was a huge crisis, a life-altering crisis that will probably change the fabric of the city forever, that necessitated that. But as you can also see, people are also interested in public transportation. People are also interested in making sure that we can take care of our public resources like parks, that we invest in libraries, and that we don't let some of these open fascists and some of our open enemies steal resources of knowledge. Right. So again, right, when we talk about the built environment, this is what we mean, right? 85% of survey takers want you get free and accessible public transportation. Right. 85%, I'll tell you right now, if I could take a train to work, oh, look, go ahead, Jesus, I won't. I'm just saying. Right? That's right. And again, with this being said, right, like these are the things that the people of Los Angeles want to invest in. Now, what don't they want to invest in, right? Every year, even as the conservative shift that is happening in our communities, whether or not like people are talking about like this whole, I know y'all might see it on social media, the whole Red Pill podcast, right? Some of y'all may have seen some of that stuff, online, like those Joe Rogan folks, right? Like, like regardless of this larger conservative shift, people are still saying that they want to make sure that if we take money from anywhere in our budget, it comes from the police. If we take money from anywhere, it comes from the city attorney's office. And what the people have consistently said again and again, it definitely got to come from parking enforcement, right? I'm being facetious, but I'm being real, right? At any point, and at every point that we've done this survey, it has been consistent, right? That this is what the people want to make sure that they divest from. And it doesn't matter how we filter it. We can filter it by identity. We can filter it by age. We can filter it by city council district. We can filter this any way. The results stay the same. And what this means, and this is a part of the truth telling, is that we have to invest in people and divest from policing. We see remember in 2016 when that open fashion got first elected and our immigrant brothers and sisters were saying abolish ICE. And we're seeing how ICE is being mobilized now, right? Remember, right, in 2020, when you heard us say abolish the police, right? And we see how police continue to be used now. These tools of the state that are meant to control and terrorize are not going to keep us safe. They will never keep us safe. If we want safety, we have to invest in the things that we know are going to keep people safe. So this means divesting from these carceral institutions, investing in people. If you go to any of these other neighborhoods, right, where they have all the resources, they don't have a lot of police. They also don't have a lot of people who look like me. So some people already live with this. Our job is to make it happen for the people who are most vulnerable. And that's why, Mayor Bass, we absolutely need you, especially this time around, to be bold. I can't imagine the type of racist vitriol you're experiencing right now. The racist and sexist vitriol coming from people who are in LA, coming from people outside of LA, coming from all of these other places, right? That is attacking you, attacking everybody in your administration. I know it must be hard. But I'll tell you one thing right now. The best thing you can do is to be bold. That's right. The best thing you can do is to say, well, if they're gonna say you are on this radical left tip, stand on it. Stand on it. You helped to build an institution that has trained hundreds of organizers. You helped to establish the framework that we even use around not treating crack cocaine as a crime, and instead we're going to address it as a public health crisis. You helped to lay the foundation for that. So you laid the groundwork for investing in people and divesting from policing before it was cool. So we need you to just go ahead and lean into it. Lean into it. And I'll tell you one thing. One thing I know about our folks is that if you show up for us, we'll show up for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. David Turner. Thank you, Dr. Tabitha Jones Jolivet. And thank you to everyone here who filled out the People's Budget Survey, because without y'all, without us, I filled it out, there is no People's Budget data to present. At this point, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, founder of Community Coalition, Mayor Karen Bass will respond to the findings that she just heard. Please welcome her.
Thank you for inviting me here. I appreciate it. And let me just say that, I know that in this job I have, there's things we agree on and things that we can't, things that I don't agree on, things that I can do and things that I can't do. But you know what? It feels so good to be here. Even where I agree and don't agree, can do and can't do. It just feels good to be here. So let me just say a few things. One, in terms of the budget deficit, we did start this year with $1 billion deficit. We were able to reduce it to about $800 million. And the main thing that is driving the deficit is the instability in our economy that starts at Washington. Of course, we don't know if we're going to have tariffs, if we're not going to have tariffs, if we're going to have a trade war, if we're not going to have a trade war, if DOGE is going to wipe out major departments. You should know that when federal workers are fired, and you hear about federal workers being fired in DC, we have over 50,000 federal workers that work here. So that impacts our economy. That is the major reason for the deficit. The other driver in the deficit are the liabilities. The liabilities, and what has happened with that is that the city of Los Angeles, it's shocking to me to hear, but the city of Los Angeles, like major cities, do not have insurance. What happens is, I know I was shocked by it too, but major cities are not insured. You're self-insured, which means you put a certain amount of money in the budget for lawsuits. So we traditionally put $100 million in the budget for lawsuits, and lawsuits usually average around $80 million. Because of COVID and the courts being either slow or closed, all of the settlements rushed at once and tripled in amount. So we had $300 million in settlements that we did not budget for. The other driver of the deficit were the raises, and I know you talk about raises, police, but raises were given to all city workers. Because when I found out that 64% of city workers do not live in Los Angeles because they can't afford to live in Los Angeles, then we raised the salary. I think I mentioned to you last year that one category of the workforce that I was very concerned about, which we'll get into a little later, is the workforce that works with Deputy Mayor Karen Lane, who are the community intervention workers who are paid $40,000 a year. Now, all of them were formerly incarcerated, gang involved, etc., who are now involved in restoring our community. And I was concerned that you can't survive on $40,000 a year. We gave them a $20,000 raise. Frankly, I don't think that's enough. I would like to pay them more than that, because especially if you've been operating in the legal and the illegal economy, I don't want you to go back to the illegal economy. And so I want to pay you enough so you don't have to do that. You should know that in order to close the budget deficit from $800 million, we did a variety of things, and we've now reduced it down to $200 million. So it's the current deficit with all the things that we did is now $240 million. None of the things that we did involved a cut to social services or human services. There were no cuts made there. I will tell you, when I listen to you, Dr. Jones and Dr. Turner, number one, I really appreciate and respect your work. Third time I've heard the presentation. But what it made me think about is maybe some follow-up things that we can do, because the city actually does provide a lot of funding in social and human services that maybe we need to figure out how to access better. And maybe that's something that we can do together to give you details specific about how that money is used. So let me just give you two categories of funding. There's the Community Investment for Families Department, which is funded at $40 million. There's the department that Karen Lane is in charge of, the Gang Reduction Youth Development Department, which is funded at $46 million. And there's the Economic Workforce Development Department, which is funded at $30 million. So none of those departments were cut. Yes?
Mayor Bass,
Yeah.
these are funded just at the beginning of your budget at $3.4 billion.
No,
Right?
yes. Yes,
And
yes,
that
yes.
doesn't account for the discretionary, nor does it account for all of the other things that we talked about. So I just want to say I appreciate you mentioning that as a contrast. When we talk about ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
systematically, there is no comparison to that amount of investment. We're talking about an ecosystem. So I would love for you to maybe sort of address that question around ecosystems.
I most certainly was not trying to compare that to how policing is funded because it doesn't compare. Police, if you look at any city budget, the majority of the budget is for public safety or policing. That is true. And frankly, I am not in a position now to reduce that money. I cannot, and I've said that before, I cannot reduce the funding to police. I can absolutely increase and figure out how we can make better accessible the money in health and human services, and actually really in human services, because the city does not do health programming. You should know that, which is why I asked Melina if the supervisors ever come here, and I will certainly work to see that the supervisors could come here. But I do think for the money that the city does have, if you would like to know how that money is spent and how it can be better accessed, I would be happy to follow up and make sure that that is happening. So, as I said, I cannot cut the money to policing, but what I have done is increase and build up the money to community safety because I happen to believe in a comprehensive approach. And part of that comprehensive approach means involving members of the community in the prevention and the intervention work. And we did a press conference with the intervention workers, and I imagine that you guys know these programs and have worked with them. We did a press conference with the intervention workers who talked about how we have had a decline in crime, we've had a decline in homicides, we've had a decline in shootings, and I would attribute that to the work of the intervention workers. And that is my way of balancing out not just approaching safety from a law enforcement perspective, but approaching safety in a comprehensive way. The other thing that I believe very strongly is that police should not be involved in mental health, in substance abuse, in homelessness. But what has happened in our society is that we do not fund adequately those programs. And we're in a fight right now over homelessness. We do not fund those programs adequately. And then when communities or when individuals go into a mental health crisis, we expect the police to deal with that. I do not. I wish we could fund on a city level massive mental health programs. But your city does not provide mental health services. Now, having said that, though, we do support and provide funding for a program called Circle. Circle is a program where if you call 911 and an individual is unhoused or an individual is having a mental health crisis, instead of sending out LAPD, you send out the Circle program. And the Circle program are mental health workers. You may or may not remember, those of you that know me and know why I ran. The reason I ran for this job, and it's a hell of a job, I just have to tell you that. The reason I ran for this job is because in our city, we have a crisis on our streets of people who are unhoused. I look at the young people here, the students that I met. You guys, every day of your life, you have seen people on our streets. Those of us that have been around for a while, we know that 30 years ago, we were not sleeping on our streets. We have 70,000 people sleeping on our streets in our county, 46,000 people sleeping on our streets in the city. Black folk are 9% of the city, and we're over 30% of the unhoused population. So I ran because I was very concerned that we were getting ready to repeat the 1990s, and I was having flashbacks when people made reference to me starting the community coalition. I started Community Coalition in 1990 because we had a problem then with crack cocaine, and that's when homelessness, by the way, changed demographics. If the average homeless person in the 80s was a 55-year-old white male who was an alcoholic, who was on Skid Row, I never thought about them not having a house. I just thought they didn't go home because they were an alcoholic. So to me, and what happened was elected officials passed laws that just locked people up, and they did not address what I felt was a health crisis. So when I was in Congress working on the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, I felt like what was getting ready to happen in our city was we were going to become frustrated with the people on the street, and we were going to go back to the 90s and start incarcerating homeless people. That is why I've run. That is why I have focused on getting our people off the streets and into housing.
Not rich.
Getting rich.
Developers keep getting rich. Yeah, they do. They do.
It's not affordable.
It isn't affordable. That's right. That's right. It isn't affordable. So what we're trying to do, I mean, right now, what we're doing, frankly, is too expensive because we're getting people out of tents and putting them in motels. That costs too much money. We have to come up with another way to house people in a long-term basis while we're building less expensive housing.
And let me do this so that we can open up and get your points in. I don't know why I wasn't. I'm going to ask those of you, if you've got a question, I'm going to ask you to come here and stand up. Now, I did this last year, and I made the mistake of letting go of the mic. And I'm surprised I still have a hanger because I was admonished, as a matter of fact, every hour on the hour after that. So I'm going to ask you to stand up here. Okay, and David, you said you had the first question. Come on, get in line. Now, so yeah, I've been working around black people for a long time, and I know some of us have questions. I know some of us got comments, and I know some of us want to preach. This is not the time for that. Let's try to keep it to questions, okay? And if I remember your style, you take a couple of questions and then you respond. I usually pick 10. Okay. All right. So we're going to ask at least 3 questions, and then we're going to ask you to respond. Okay? I'm going to start with the person who helped frame the presentation, Dr. David Turner.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Look, look how tight I'm over. Right, there we go. My hand is far enough. I'm holding it so tight.
My bad. So, all right. So, I don't like to believe in the words like can't because they describe something that is incapable of happening. But I know it's possible. Here in Los Angeles in 2020, we built a massive coalition. Again, we got people from the teacher union and people from private schools to work together. Now, if you know anything about education justice, you know that's like bringing the ops together, right, to do something spectacular. And we brought together over 70 organizations, right, to work to defund LAUSD school police by 35%. And to reinvest that money into a black student achievement. So my question is for you, What kind of coalition do you need to see to make sure we can actually defund the LAPD? Do we gotta go get the whole AFL CIO? Do we gotta organize every Lakers you get in the city? Do we gotta bring Hollywood into this? What kind of coalition is it gonna take? Because whatever coalition it's gonna take, that's what we're gonna take.
Hi, my name is Lori, and my question was about the homeless. You said you ran on that platform, and we all know for years and years and years the highest concentration of homelessness has been in Skid Row, and that's mostly Black people. My question is, why, when you were elected, did you immediately start homelessness, outreach and getting people off the street in cities like Mar Vista, Venice, Santa Monica, and all the sides of town that we know are mostly occupied by Caucasians. And Skid Row to this day still looks the exact same. So I was wondering, why was that your choice to begin there instead of where the problem is worse?
The young lady answered. She stated a lot of things I was going to ask. My name is Prince Ike from Black Lives Matters, and this has been like a crazy year for us. But I would like to ask you, what can Black Lives Matters do to help you with the homelessness? Because last time you came and you told us your plan and exactly what you was going to do. I will be honest. I'm a very honest person. I haven't seen a lot of the work being done at all. I've been seeing a lot of policing been happening on a mass level. So I would like to know directly, like, what do you need from us, and how can we help you?
All right. One more, Karen, and then we're gonna, Madam Mayor, and then we're gonna ask you to respond.
Okay, no disrespect to you, Mayor, but would you give us a detail of why you cannot decrease the police? We don't know. We're average citizens, and we're voters, and I voted for you. But we need a detail of why not. I know that's on a lot of people's mind. It's on my mind. So I just want to know, and my second question is to you. I invited you downtown to the Women's Center, and you did not come. And that's very important to come to Skid Row. And I thank you for coming, and I thank everybody here. This is my first time, and due to hearing it on live, yes,
KBLA.
yes, and also the doctor on her program. And I said it's very important for me to take my time and come here. And thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
it's been wonderful being here. I didn't hear an answer.
McKinley, I wrote it down. I'll answer.
She's answering a bunch of them.
All together?
Yes,
Okay.
Achille,
I still.
make them
No,
come
no,
to you. You don't have to. Because we can't see.
You're not in the frame.
All rise and stand. This is Alma Rockman Court Action. You are all on notice. Okay? Acting Mayor Karen Best of a corporate United States jurisdiction. You all know you are lying to the people. We know you are some Star Freemason. We know you sacrifice our children. We know. Why do you pretend like we are in a proper jurisdiction dealing with finance? You know that you're killing us on purpose. You know that you gotta tell us that we're black, that you are, and the police are telling me to kill us because we're not black legally. So why don't you educate the people properly on how they need to live and stop lying to the people? Grow some gardens, grow our fruits back. Take me out of my streets because I'm dying outside. My people are dying. I don't need a microphone. I can speak for myself and my people. So I love my people. And we the president.
Well, that's
You the man.
Karen.
Listen.
Listen. I believe this stuff to her. I get a lot of instructions, so let me do this. All right.
I take good notes.
So,
I just want to know why y'all lie so much. My mother is an Eastern Star. She's sacrificing. My father's a female. She's sacrificing. It's all dealing with the government. So why y'all sit here and lie to the people
Okay.
when you can educate, when you can change the schooling?
Thank you.
thank you.
It's not over. I'm not done.
Yes, you are.
not.
Because we have people.
myself.
Because we have people behind you, and we're going to ask you to be as courteous as everybody else was to you before you came here. We're going to ask you to be as courteous to everybody else. Hello, to he, freedom and justice. Thank you very much. We'd like to go to the next person. Thank you.
All right, so Karen Bass is an enemy of the people. We know that for sure. I want to say first that when she said she doesn't want to, that she can't cut the LAPD's budget, LAPD is asking for a $160 million increase in their operational budget. So that's a place where you can start to cut the budget. Mayor, I want to ask you first and foremost. We know that LAPD is the biggest budget line item in the city of Los Angeles, $3.4 billion a year. I want to know, when was the last audit of the LAPD? Thank you.
You want to take a couple more?
I want to start off my comments by saying, I want you to be our mayor. I want you to be our mayor. I want to be able to say I have a black woman mayor who has the history of organizing and activism as you do. But when you first decide to hire a LAPD chief who has a history of working with and cooperating with ICE as the sheriff and was voted out, and now we know that that same LAPD chief who lied to the city council and said he would not cooperate with ICE is giving information and cooperating with ICE. Why, when you cut the fire department's budget, when you leaving people to not have enough resources and watching people's houses burn, right? When you do those things, it makes it hard for me to tell other people to vote for you. Because I don't see, as many people have brought up, we don't see any tangible change from your time as mayor. The houseless crisis has not gotten any better. We've seen increase in sweeps in houseless communities. Most of the money that is supposed to be going to housing is going to sweeps now. This is something that we are seeing with our own eyes. And so my question is, why should anyone, even though we know we don't want the opposition, we don't want a Republican leader of this city, we don't want Rick Caruso, but why would we vote for you if you're not going to do the things that are going to help our community?
Hello, Mayor Bass.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Anthony Bryson. I'm a community organizer and activist. I want to know, Mayor Bass, what you can do today to promise to the black and brown people of Los Angeles that you can guarantee them safety, that you can investigate these police. These police officers in LAPD, we see, have been trained by the IDF forces that are committing genocide in Palestine, and they implement the same procedures and tactics they use in Palestine on the black and brown communities here in Los Angeles. What can you promise to the residents of Los Angeles that training will stop, that the policing conditions can change? You say you can't cut the budget, but what can we do about code of conduct within our own police department here? What promises are you willing to make to the black and brown community today?
I got it. Introduce yourself.
Yes. Stop at the young man that says "Make America Panther."
Stephen, okay.
Pierre Harbin, Dar es Salaam Foundation. We advocate for community development and affordable housing. And as a property manager of 40 years and worked for low-income housing, affordable housing, low-income housing tax credits, we find there are several type of affordable housing programs. We know about Section 8, we know about cooperative housing and so forth. But one particular affordable housing program that has not been in a national discussion for a while is public housing. And we know that in 1999, the Faircloth Amendment froze additional federal funding for housing stock. So we're at the housing stock of 1999. So my question, Mayor, and I want to first I should have said first, I support you 100%. You're on the front line, and there are forces against you because in the architecture of white spatial imaginary, they don't even see you. And I see you. I want you to know I see you, man, and I support you. But would you advocate for the repeal of the Fair Cloth Amendment so we can get public housing, federally funded housing, so then we can now make affordable housing more in the community? Thank you.
Thank you, V. Introduce yourself. So the next.
Hi, my name is Channing Flagg, and I have two questions. My first question is, can something be done about city enhancements such as better street cleaning, consistent fixing of roads and sidewalks, and creating and finishing more parks in quote unquote bad neighborhoods? Because one example I have is a park St. Andrews. It's in Inglewood. Last year the city started making a new playground on it over the summer, and at the end of the summer, they just stopped. And it's been over a year now, and my grandmother, who's the coordinator at that park, has reached out to the city about it, and they haven't gotten back to her about it. Yes.
And second question.
Second question, I wanted to know what you have to say about the difference of the quality of produce in different neighborhoods at stuff such as grocery stores. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Very good. Steven, you're it.
Hello, my name is Steven. I'm going back, thinking back last year.
I'm gonna be done yeah.
So about 2 days after we did this meeting last year, I work for a charter school, and our students were able to come up to the courthouse. We were meeting with the judge, but the judge walked us into one of the courtrooms just so the students could see what a hearing was. And we walked in, and you were speaking to some officials up there. They were asking about funding. They were saying it was, I can't remember the exact number right now, 1 million, 10 million, some funds that were not spent. We didn't stay long. We took a break when me and my students walked in. They broke, but we heard a little bit about money not being spent. It was a very big portion, and they were going to deduct some of it if it wasn't spent. So if you could please elaborate on what they were speaking with you about. Yeah, downtown, and they were saying that there was about, I believe it was $1 million to $10 million of budgeted money that had not been used, and they were going to deduct some of it if it wasn't spent in a timely manner. That's just off of memory. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
And Madam Mayor, I'm going to ask you to take one more.
Is that the last one?
Yes, this is the last one.
I'm gonna make it count. Oh, Baba Keely say even I can't hold it. Stay to his room. So, Mayor Bass, under Mayor Garcetti in 2020, he diverted $150 million from the LAPD budget to fund a universal basic income program. I heard you say you can't defund LAPD, but I know also that the city of LA just spent about 2 years doing research on the Black LA experience, and its findings has shown most of the harms committed against Black people have been committed through LAPD, right? LAPD over 100 years has committed racial terrorism in Black communities. So my question and demand on you is to defund LA school police and fund a reparations program.
You feeling good? That's good. Okay, I do meetings like this, and I hope that I am accurate. I try to take good notes and answer your questions, but I'll tell you, you won't like all my answers. But I will be honest with you, and I will answer your questions. You asked me, Doc, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, you asked me what kind of coalition you need to see to defund the police. May I answer you honestly? There is not a coalition that is going to defund the LAPD. It's not going to happen. I know you don't want to hear me say that, but I'm going to tell you straight. It's not. No, I'm not afraid of the police, but I happen to believe, you asked me, so I'm going to answer you. I personally happen to believe in a comprehensive approach. I believe in preventing crime, but I also believe that a city needs a police department. I'm sorry. And you could have all of the coalition that you want, but the city, and when I say the city, I mean the masses of the people, would not support that. You asked me about the second question was about homeless on Skid Row and why did I go to Mar Vista and Santa Monica instead of Skid Row? I want you to know that we have housed hundreds of people on Skid Row. And if you want to know where those hundreds of people are, they are in a lot of different motels. But we bought a hotel just for people from Skid Row. It's called the Mayfair Hotel. It has comprehensive services on the first floor. It is not enough. I'm trying right now to build another big hotel. I want to buy this hotel. And what I want to do, because what I believe very strongly about the homeless issue is that we don't provide the right services. I was on the street yesterday on Washington Boulevard, and there was a man who was living in a car. It broke my heart. He had an amputated leg right below the knee, and then he had another leg that was about 3 times the size that it was supposed to be. I asked him if he was a diabetic, because that's the main reason why people have amputations. He told me he was. If that man didn't get housing, I do not believe he would live 6 more months. In the same encampment, it's on Washington Boulevard. You know the Rosedale Cemetery? There's been an encampment there for 5 years. We housed 41 people yesterday. There was a family there that had clearly been evicted. All of their household stuff was on the street, and there was a baby in a dirty stroller, and the baby was about a year old, and it was a mother with 2 kids. And we house those people. So we work a lot on Skid Row. But maybe you don't notice the difference because it's thousands of people. We house people all over the city, and we have housed thousands of people. But until we are able to stop people from becoming unhoused, it's a never-ending cycle. So we started a program to find people who are facing eviction and giving them legal advice and social services so they don't fall into homelessness. It's not a perfect system. It's frankly a system that needs a lot of work, but I personally am not going to stop until our people are not on the street. And so, Prince Akili, not Akili, but you asked, you're the Prince? No. You said, what can BLM do to help with people coming together in order to defund the police? So I answered that question earlier. Well, I did. I understand you might not like my answer. I do understand that, and I respect that. You asked, and then why can't I decrease the money to the police? I can't decrease the money to the police. I cannot. I wish I was all powerful, but this is the way the budget works. On Monday, I'm going to present the budget to the city council. The city council will take a month coming up with what the budget is actually going to be. So I start the budget, they take the budget, they send it back to me, and I sign the budget or I veto the budget. I will tell you that would not be the votes on city council to decrease funding to the police. Okay, so she said we need a new city council. Why didn't I go to the Women's Center? I go to the Women's Center in Skid Row all the time. I'm on Skid Row all the time. You gonna hand me a note? You put what? Oh, what'd you say?
I've never seen you there.
I'm sorry. But I've been there a lot of times.
Excuse me when you make it a point. Because the other ladies, they haven't seen you there.
At the women, I tell you what. You tell me when you gonna be at the women's center when I come there, okay? All right? Because I've been there a lot of times.
Just a moment, it's hard to get in contact.
Well, I will fix that, okay? She will fix that right there, Nicole. She will fix that. All right, you tell me when you're gonna be there, and I'll be there.
Is that guaranteed? Guaranteed in front of everybody?
I said it in front of everybody here, and I'm on Skid Row enough that the people on Skid Row know me. Why don't I educate the people, and why do I lie? I really don't lie. When was the last? I will tell you. Is that name Jason? Jason be following me around, shouting at me all the time. Shouting at me, filming me, whatever. I'm sorry if you think it's a lie. It's not. When was the last audit of the LAPD? I actually don't know. I will find that out and I will let you know. I don't believe that the LAPD has been audited anytime recently, and I've been there now for 3 years. I'm sorry. Why did I hire the LAPD chief who has worked with ICE? And why did I cut the fire department budget? I have to say that annoys me, that question. Not the question about the LAPD chief, but the question about why did I cut the money to the fire department, because I didn't cut the money to the fire department, and I'm sorry if the fire chief got up there and lied. I did not do that. And if you're watching Fox TV, Fox will tell you that's what I did. That did not happen.
Did you cut the operational budget?
I did not.
You did not.
Jason.
So you're saying you did not cut the operational budget?
This gentleman was saying that there's a lot of things that have not gotten better in the city, and I have to agree. Housing is still way too expensive. I don't disagree with what you said. I was asked, what can I do to stop LAPD from being trained by the IDF? This is actually something the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, if anybody wants to know what that is. I looked into this because I was asked that last year, and the LAPD is not trained by the IDF. Maybe some officers were, maybe they did that back in the day, but that is not happening now. Public housing, the gentleman that asked me about public housing, here you are. I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. The problem is, at the White House, the current occupant does not believe in public housing. And so that's going to be a big fight. I'm worried that we're not going to be able to hold. What's that? We're going to change that Congress, and they're going to support you. Thank you. You know, I left that Congress. That's why I'm here. But anyway, I'm frankly worried that we're not going to hold on to the housing that we have now, the public housing. And thank you for your support. It has been a rather tough time right now. The young man, where's the young man? He did such a good job. Who asked about street? You did a really good job. Where you go to school? You go to Fairfax? You're homeschooled? Well, where's Mama? Is Mama there? Mama, Daddy? Daddy, you're doing a good job.
Daddy worked on a campaign for us to defund the school police.
Okay. And just for the record, I am not in charge of the school police. I am not in charge of the schools. The mayor of New York is, the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of LA is not in charge of schools. So you asked about street cleaning and parks and the neighborhood and the St. Andrews Park. I'm going to follow up specifically on the St. Andrews Park with Deputy Mayor Karen Lane. She's shaking her head. She's going to talk to you specifically about that park, okay? So we are fighting, and it's going to be a tough time because I don't know if I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about the budget. But the budget, the $240 million that we have a gap right now, on Monday I'm going to have to propose layoffs. And the reason why, but I don't think it's going to happen, okay? I don't. But I have to propose that because by law, the budget has to come out on Monday. like April 21st. That's in the city charter. But 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 I believe that there are some solutions, like from the state, that will help us, so we won't have to do layoffs ultimately, because the budget isn't signed for several more weeks. I do the budget, I present the budget, the city council works on it, they send it back to me. By the time they send it back to me, I'm hoping that we won't have to do that. So the reason why I said that is because of street services and street cleaning and all of that. We don't want to see, we need more of that, not less of that. So thank you for asking your question. And then I'm sorry, the gentleman that was asking me about, yes, the Panther. Honestly, I'm sorry. You were asking about money that wasn't spent, and when I work at a courthouse, I'm sorry. I just don't remember that. I'm not sure what category of money that was. So, oh, the inside safe. Oh yeah, I do have to say, Docs. Me and the city controller are friends, but I don't always agree with his name. Just so you know that. So I don't. I don't agree with his math. Like, for example, that question that he just asked me about hundreds of millions of dollars the controller reported that was unspent and Insight Safe. And Insight Safe is the program where I get folks out of the tents and into motels. So he was counting money. For example, the governor gave us like $50 million to build tiny homes, but the homes weren't built. You know what I mean? It wasn't to be spent. Or sometimes you have multi-year funding that's in the account. I can't just spend money that's meant for a year or 2 years now. So he was counting money that should not have been counted. And that's a difference, that we have. But we work together. We work together well. So LASA is the Los Angeles Homeless. Wait, never mind that. About the board of supervisors, because they did it over 3 million non-taxable funds. You utilize that. A lot of the programs that we're familiar with around here are not going to have money. So my question is, are you going to make LASA more effective on its way out? How would you guys think I control everything? I'm the mayor of the city of Los Angeles. I don't control the board of supervisors. No, I think the board of supervisors, the LASA is your program. No, it's not my program. So who's in charge of making sure that these programs are actually effective? The county. The county. But let me just say something, because I'll tell you what the stressful things about this job are all the things people think I can do. Yesterday I got run on. A guy ran at me at the beach because he was mad that the ocean was dirty. He said, "Why didn't you clean the ocean?" He was talking about the fires. Just like the guy that said, about funding cut to the fire department. Some folks be buying in the Fox TV, because that's the stuff they be saying. So the LASA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, is a county-city partnership. The county took over $300 million and put it in their bank account. I'm pissed off about that. I can't do anything about that because I'm not a supervisor. So we have to figure out how we can continue to house people in LA in spite of what the county did. I am committed to doing that, but seriously, I don't have the authority to go get the money that they moved. Now, we in the city have put hundreds of millions of dollars in LASA, and that is the money we control. That is the money we control. Okay, what is true and what he's talking about is that I do sit on the LASA commission. You said I sound like somebody who's sitting on the commission and doesn't have the power. Okay, I don't mean to get into too much of a dialogue, so let me try my best to answer you.
Wait, before you do that, let's do this. Let's first try to keep this in control. We appreciate that. And we had the time for people to ask their questions. And she wrote them down and is responding. And so if we could, let's continue this process as we laid it out. Please continue the response.
I am, and then I'm done. I'm out, y'all. So anyway, I'm going to keep housing people. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to keep doing that. And because I know that 4 people tomorrow morning are not going to wake up. They're going to die on the street, and more than likely, they look like you. And I'm not going to stop until we are able to save the lives of our brothers and sisters on the street. Thank you very much. I will see you and I continue working with you. And I love you all. Even if, oh, boo, Jason. Anyway, thank you.
So I do have one last question for the mayor.
Which one? The final question. Thank you. I'm sorry, because I didn't mean to answer that. So let me just tell you about that. They moved over $100 million out of the LAPD budget, and they put it in the guaranteed income. And you know what happened? It was all paid back in overtime and more.
That's right. Yeah.
Did I get that right, Jason? You get it right. Jason, my friend now.
So listen, I do have one more question, and then we need to think about what we do, because the mayor's given her response, but we have to think about what our response is, right? I do appreciate honesty, but honesty also tells us how we have to move. This is the start of the budget process. It's not the end of the budget process. So I want to be very clear, and I think everybody can guess this. I and we disagree about defunding the police. We want to defund the police. And we're going to defund the police. And I do want to ask one last question that's rooted in something that I know that you've demonstrated a belief in, which is you met a bunch of my students. Who you didn't meet is Angel Marie Taylor. Angel Marie, will you stand up, please? Everybody, you don't know why, but I want you to give Angel Marie Taylor all your love right now. Angel Marie Taylor will tell you that she and her people are from South Central Los Angeles. She don't say South LA. South Central Los Angeles. Angel Marie Taylor is a college student at Cal State Channel Islands. Angel Marie Taylor is a loudmouth black woman. Like we love loudmouth black women, right? Angel Marie Taylor dares to say free Palestine. Free Palestine. Angel Marie Taylor dares to say stop the budget cuts.
That's right.
Angel Marie Taylor dares to say that black people deserve to be funded and supported on college campuses. And as a result, Angel Marie Taylor is facing both expulsion and criminalization. We know that people like Angel Marie Taylor and people like many of our folks in this room are being criminalized by this system and this regime. They are being rounded up, they're being put on lists, they're being deported. We know that when you were in Congress and the same fool was in the White House and his administration introduced a term called Black Identity Extremists, you challenged it. What we're asking you, what I want to ask as a final question in hopes that we can agree on something, is what will you do to oppose a system that's dead set on creating so-called terrorists out of people who are doing the righteous work of our people? What will you do given that you got Errol Southers who does work with the Israeli occupation forces? So if you want, I'll talk to you later about how we know LAPD works. We don't call them the defense forces, we call them the occupation forces. I'll give you that information. But we also know that we have to have a plan to make sure that people like Angel Marie Taylor are safe.
First of all, I hate to hear, I think a lot of people don't even know there is a Cal State Channel Island. And I hope that if you are forced, are you kicked out of school now? Not yet. Well, The short answer is I will absolutely do what I can to be helpful, and maybe you and I can figure out what that is. But I would hate to see you being kicked out of school, and I would especially hate to see you being criminalized. I am very, very worried about what is going on now with the administration. What Melina is talking about is that the FBI invented this category called Black Identity Extremists. They never defined what it was, and I had to go toe to toe with the head of the FBI at the time, Christopher Wray, who Trump promptly fired. And we were able to get them to eventually, at least not overtly, pass a document that I was worried about was going to essentially put especially young African American protesters to be identified as terrorists, because there was no such thing, from my point of view, as a Black identity extremist. There's plenty of white identity extremists, but I am not aware of, and the FBI could not provide any evidence of organizations that were really Black extremist organizations. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you, even where we agree and where we disagree. We're still the same community.
If everybody could hold, the mayor is leaving, but we ain't leaving. Because we got some
Thank
plans
you, Mayor
to do
Karen
just
Bass.
for a few
Please,
minutes, okay?
please put your hands together. All right, coming up right now with calls to action, Sheila Bates. Sheila, calls to action time. And this will be all this.
Yes, one of the calls to action is absolutely to defund the police. We know that it can happen. It's just that people are choosing not to. So we have a few things that we need y'all to plug into and tap into. So in the same spirit of what we're talking about right now is that on Tuesday, April 22nd on Zoom, we will be having another People's Budget Forum. This time it will be with Kenneth Mejia, a member of an elected official. Go!
Amen!
Go!
Amen!
Go!
Amen!
Are y'all with me now?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So on Tuesday, the 22nd, we will be having another People's Budget Forum. This time it will be online. It will be one of our elected officials who is absolutely one of our own, right? Kenneth Mejia is the city controller, and we know that he absolutely believes in defunding the police, right? He knows that it is absolutely because of the police that we are facing this budget shortfall. So we need y'all to show up to that meeting. That will be again on Tuesday the 22nd at 7 p.m. And y'all can register for it by going to tinyurl.com/peoplesbudgetconvo. Pretty easy to remember, right? tinyurl.com/peoplesbudgetconvo. So please join us on the 22nd at 7 p.m. We'd love to see y'all there. And then additionally, we have a few other things that we'd love for y'all to tap into. So we know that we talk about how
Everybody,
Right now, it's 4 hours.
are y'all here because you think you want to take some pictures? And are you here because you wanted to hear what a politician had to say to you? Are you here to organize for Black liberation? If we're here to organize for Black liberation, then if you need to leave, we get we're a little long, then please leave quiet. But if you're here, we need you to be here and pay attention and plug in. Because we said already, this is the start of the budget process. This is not the end. On Monday, the mayor presents her budget proposal to city council. Right? That means it's a proposal. If we want to do work, we're going to have to listen to these calls to action. It's not enough for us to sit here and go, that was good data, Dr. David Turner and Dr. Tabitha Jones-Jolivet. It's not good enough to say I was in a room with the mayor. I hope you're not starstruck by politicians.
Say it again.
Right. We are in a room together to harness people power so that we can push for the people's budget, for the budget that we want, need, and deserve. And Sheila is helping us understand how to do that. So are y'all here?
Yeah.
Thank you. So if y'all can take your phones out, because what I'm going to give y'all a few links, and I want y'all to write them down. So.